play is called Our Town.
It was written by Thornton Wilder, directed by Miss Kate Davis.
In it, you will see Mr. Mawakdier,
Miss Naylor,
Mr. Panisi, Mr. Staples, Miss Starnes, Mr. Wu, Miss Zhu,
and many others. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire.
Just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude 40 degrees, 42 minutes, longitude 70 degrees, 37 minutes.
The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7, 1901. The time is just before the dawn. The sky is beginning to show some streaks of lights over the east here behind the mountain. The morning stars always get wonderfully bright the minute it has to go, doesn't it?
Well, I'd better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Way over there is the railway station. Tracks go that way. Congregational church is over there. Presbyterian is across the street. Methodist and Unitarian are over there. Catholics along the tracks there. Baptist is down Holla by the river. And here's our post office and town hall combined into one. Jail's in the basement. William Jennings Bryan once gave a speech from these very steps here.
Along Main Street, a row of stores, hitching posts, horses' flocks in front of them. First automobiles going to come along in about 5 years. Belong to banker Cartwright, our richest citizen, living at the White House up on the hill. Here's the grocery store, and here's Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Almost everybody in town managed to look over those of the two stores once a day. Public school over yonder, high school further over. 8:45 mornings, noon times, 3 o'clock afternoons. The whole town can hear the screaming and the yelling from the school backyards.
Well, as we said, it's about dawn. The only lights on in town are in a cottage over by the tracks where a Polish mother has just given birth to twins. And in Joe Crowell House, where Joe Crowell Jr. is getting up to deliver the paper. And in the depot, where Shorty Hawkins is getting ready to fly the 5:45 for Boston.
In those days, the newspaper comes out twice a week, the Grover's Corner Sentinel. Here's Editor Webb's house, and this is Mrs. Webb's garden. Just like Mrs. Gibbs, there's a lot of sunflowers here.
This is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. This is the back door. Here's some scenery for those who think they need scenery. This is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Lots of corn, peas, beans, hollyhock, heliotrope, and lots of burdock. There comes Doc Gibbs, coming back from that baby case. And here comes his wife to get her breakfast.
Doc Gibbs died in 1903. His wife died earlier, in fact, a long time ago. She went to visit her daughter Rebecca, who married an insurance man in Kenton, Ohio. Died near pneumonia, but her body was brought back. She's in a cemetery up on a mountain. There are Cartwrights, Herseys, Gibbs. Same names around here now.
There's Doc Gibbs. Got that baby call 1:30 this morning. Here comes Mrs. Webb, getting her breakfast. Here comes Joe Crowell Jr., delivering Mr. Webb's Sentinel.
Morning, Doc Gibbs.
Morning, Joe.
Somebody been sick, Doc?
No, pair of twins over in Polish Town.
Want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything serious going on in the world since Wednesday?
Yes, sir. My school teacher, Miss Forster, is getting married to some fellow over in Concord.
Well, I declare. How do you boys feel about this?
Well, of course it's none of my business, but I feel if someone starts out being a teacher, she has to stay one.
How's your knee, Joe?
Fine. I don't think about it much. Only like you say, it always tells me when it's going to rain.
Is it going to rain today?
No, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
And you ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
Want to tell you something about that boy Joe Crowell over there. Graduated top of his class from high school here, so he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated top of his class there too. He's going to be a great engineer, Joe was. Then the war broke out in France and he died. All that education for nothing.
Yeah, Bessie.
Here comes Hannah Newsom, delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Hannah.
Somebody sick?
No, a pair of twins over to Skorskovski's.
Twins? The sun's getting bigger every year.
What's the weather like today?
Oh, that'll all run through.
Hello, Bessie. How old is she, Anna?
Going on 17. She's been all mixed up about the route ever since the law party stopped taking their quart of milk every day. She still wants me to give it to him, though.
Morning, Hannah.
Morning, Miss Brett. Doc's coming just down the street.
Is he? Seems like you're late today.
Yeah, there's wrong with the separator. Don't know what it was.
Anna?
Doc?
Everything go all right, Frank?
Yes, I declare. Easy as kittens.
Sit down and drink your coffee. Bacon will be ready in a minute. You can catch a couple hours sleep this morning, can't you?
I miss my works at 11. I have to know when to start too. Something ain't what ought to be.
All told, Frank, you won't get more than 3 hours sleep. I do wish you could get away someplace and take a rest. I think it'd do you good.
Emily, 7 o'clock. Wally, time to get up.
I declare you've got to talk to George. Seems like something's coming over him lately. I don't know what's going on. I can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Is he sassy, Gio?
No, all he does is whines. All he thinks about is that baseball. Oh, George, Rebecca, come down and get your breakfast. George!
George, look sharp. Yes, Mom? Don't you hear your mother calling you? Guess I'll go upstairs and catch 40 wings.
Children, Wally, Emily, you'll be late for school. Wally, you wash yourself good or I'll come up there and do it for you.
Mom, where's Tyler?
Oh, hush up with you. Your father's been out all night and needs his rest. I washed and ironed your blue gingham for you special.
Mom, I hate that dress.
Oh, hush up with you.
Every day I go to school looking like a sick turkey.
Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice.
Mom, you're sitting so fat me.
I'll come up and slap the both of you. That's what I'll do. Good morning, Mama. Good morning.
Children, breakfast is just as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling like wolves. It'll stunt your growth, that's a fact. Wally, put away your book.
Oh, Mom, I gotta know all about Canada by 10 o'clock.
Wally, you know the rules just as well as I do. No books at the table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
Fine both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age.
Eat your breakfast.
I'm bright too, only when I'm looking at my stamp collection.
I'll speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me that 25 cents a week's enough for a boy your age. I declare I don't know how you spend it all.
Mom, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry phosphates, that's what you buy.
Well, I don't see how my dad comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradual.
You know, dear, it is a good thing to spend some money every now and again.
Mama, do you know the thing I love most in the world? Do you? Money.
Eat your breakfast. Oh, stop.
Walk fast, you don't have to run. Emily, stand up straight. Wally, do your ready to eat.
Here, chick, chick, chick. Here, chick, chick, chick. Oh, what's the matter with you? Fight, fight, fight. That's all you do. Oh, you don't belong to me. Where did you come from? Oh, don't worry. Nobody's gonna hurt you. Good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
Well, I still get that tickling feeling in my throat. Told Mr. Webb I don't know if it'd be any use for me to go to choir practice.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yes, but I can't seem to do that and stay on the key. If I was resting myself, I thought I'd string some of these beans.
I'll help you. Beans have been good this year.
I'm going to put up 40 quarts if it kills me. The children say they hate them, but I noticed they get them down all winter.
Now, Myrtle, I've got to tell you something, because if I don't tell somebody, I'll burst.
By Julia Gibbs.
Did one of those secondhand furniture boys from Boston come and knock on your door last Friday?
No.
Well, he called on me. First I thought he was a patient wanting to see Doc Gibbs, and then he wormed his way into my parlor, and Myrtle Webb, he offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy as I'm sitting there.
By Julia Gibbs.
That old thing? Why, it was so big, I almost gave it to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know. $350. What's come over you?
Well, if I could get the doc to take me and the money away someplace and go on a real trip, I'd sell it like that. You know, Merle, it's always been a dream of my life to go to Paris, France. I know it sounds silly, but I've been promising myself if I ever had the chance.
Well, what did the doc say about it?
Well, I kind of beat about the bush a little and said that if I got this legacy, that's how I put it, that I'd make him take me somewhere.
And what did he say to that?
Well, you know how he is. I haven't heard a serious word out of him since I've known him. Said it might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. Every 2 years, we take a trip up to the battlefields of the Civil War, Myrtle. And that's a trip enough for anybody, he says.
Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Doc Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War. He was in a mind to give up Napoleon and move over to the Civil War. Only Doc Gibbs, being one of the greatest experts in the country, just makes him despair.
It's a fact that Doc Gibbs has never been as happy as when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. The times I've walked over those hills, Myrtle, pacing it all out, stopping at every bush, like we're gonna buy it.
Well, that secondhand man's serious about buying it, truly. You sell it, and then you'll get to see Paris, all right? Just keep dropping hints from time to time. Then you'll get to see Paris. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Seems once in a while, once in your life actually, that you ought to go someplace that they don't speak English and don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Now, I'll have to interrupt again here. You see, before we go on, we want to get a little bit more information about the town. Kind of scientific account, you might say. So I asked the professor from our local university to come in and sketch in a few details about our past history here. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university. A few brief notes, Professor, as our time is limited.
Rover's Corners, let me see. Rover's Corners lies on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. It is one of the oldest land in the world, and we are very proud of that. A shelf of Devonian basalt crosses it with vestigious Mesozoic shale and outcroppings. Oh, that's far more recent, only 200 and 300 years ago. Some highly interesting fossils have been found. I may say unique fossils. 2 miles out of town in Salix cow pasture. They can be seen at our university at any time. I mean, at any reasonable time. Do you want me to include some Dr. Grover's meteorological data, precipitation, and etc.?
Oh, Professor, I don't think we'll have time for that. We might have some words on the history of man here.
Oh, yes. Anthropological data. Early Amerindian stock, Cotahuasi tribes, no evidence before the 10th century of this era, now entirely disappeared. Traces in 3 families, migration toward the end of the 17th century, of English brachiocephalic blue eye stock for the most part, and some Slav and Mediterranean.
And the population, Professor Willard?
With the town limit, 2,640.
Just a moment. Professor.
Oh, yes, indeed. The population at this moment is 2,642. The postal district brings 507 more, with a total of 3,149. Mortality and birth rate constant by Met versus Gage, 6.032.
Thank you very much, Professor. I'm sure we're all very much obliged to you.
Not at all, not at all.
Thank you again, Professor. This way. Now for the political and social report, Editor Webb. Oh, Mr. Webb.
He'll be out in a minute. He cut his hand and he's eating an apple.
Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting.
May I introduce Mr. Webb? Mr. Webb is editor and publisher of our local paper.
Well, I don't have to tell you we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21 and women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkling up professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we are 86% Republican, 6% Democrat, 4% Socialist, rest indifferent. Religiously, 85% Protestant, 12% Catholic, rest indifferent.
Do you have any comments about the town, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town if you ask me. A little better behaved than most, but probably a lot duller too. But our young people here seem to like it well enough. 90% of them settle down right here to live, even when they've been off to college.
Now, does anybody in the audience have a question they would like to ask Mr. Webb about the town?
Is there much drinking in Grover's quarters?
Well, ma'am, I don't know what you'd call much. Saturday nights, the farmhands head down to Ellery Greenhouse Stable and holler some. We've got one or two town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, ma'am, I'd say liquor ain't a regular thing in the home here, except in the medicine chest. Right good for a snake bite, you know, always was.
Is there no one in town, Will?
Will you come a little closer, sir, where we can all hear what you were saying? What was that?
Is there no one in town with social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh, yes, everyone is something terrible. It seems most people spend their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Then why don't we do something about it? Gosh, come on!
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all looking for a way that diligent and sensible can rise to the top and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those that can't help themselves, and those that can, we leave alone. Any other questions?
Mr. Webb? Oh, Mr. Webb, is there any culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corners?
No, ma'am, there ain't much. Come to think of it, there are a few girls that play piano at high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, ma'am, there ain't much culture, but maybe this is time to tell you we've got pleasures of our own kind here. We like the sun coming up over the mountains, and we notice a good deal about the birds. Yes, we all pay attention to them. And the change of seasons, we all know about them. Robinson Crusoe in the Bible, and Handel's Largo, we all know them. Oh, and Whistler's Mother. That's about as far as we go.
So I thought. Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we'll go back to the town. It's early afternoon. All 2,642 have had their supper and all the dishes have been washed.
There's an early afternoon calm in our town. A buzzing and a humming from the school buildings. Only a few buggies on the main street. Horses are dozing at hitching posts. You don't know what it's like. Dawkins at his office tapping people, making them say, Mr. Watt cutting his lawn over there. What man out of 10 think it's a privilege to push his own lawnmower? No, it's later than I thought. Your children coming home from school already.
I can't, Louise. I've got to go home. I promised my mom. I'm sorry.
Emily, walk simply. Who do you think you are today?
Father, you're just terrible. One minute you're telling me to stand up straight, and the next minute you're calling me names. How could I ever listen to you?
Oh, golly, I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Excuse me, Mrs. Forrest.
Go out and play in the fields, young man. You got no business playing baseball on Main Street.
I'm awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello, George.
Awfully fine speech you made in class.
Well, I was ready to make a speech about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Mrs. Corcoran made me talk about the Louisiana Purchase. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. You know, from my window over there, I can almost see the top of your head on the nights that you're doing your homework over in your room.
Why can you?
You certainly do stick to it, Emily. You know, I don't know how you can sit still that long without moving. You must really like school.
Well, I figured it's just something a person's got to go through.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, really. It passes the time.
Emily, what do you think? What if we made a kind of telegraph between your window and mine, and then that way you could give me help with some of those algebra problems that I miss? It wouldn't be the answers or anything, just hints.
Oh. Hints. I think
if those are allowed. Well, if you get stuck, you can just whistle over me and I'll give some hints.
You're just naturally bred, I guess, Emily.
Oh, figure it's just the way a person's born.
I want to be a farmer. My Uncle Luke's farming. And he says that whenever I'm ready, I can just work on his farm. And if I'm any good at it, I can gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah, I could. Oh, Emily, I better get going to the baseball field. But thanks for the talk. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Emily, come and help me string some of these beans for winter. Well, George Gibbs grew up and let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? How old would he be now? I don't know. Must be about 16.
Mama, I made a speech in class today. It was very good.
You must recite it to your father at supper. What was it about?
The Louisiana Purchase, it was like silk off a spool. I'm going to make speeches all my life, Mama. Are these big enough?
Try and get them a little bigger if you can.
Mama, can I ask you a question serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously, can I?
Of course you can.
Am I good looking?
Why, yes. All my children have got good features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
Oh, Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
Emily, I've already told you, yes. You have a nice, young, pretty face. Now enough of this foolishness.
Mama, were you pretty?
Yes, if I do say it. I was the prettiest girl in town next to Mamie Cartwright.
Oh, Mama, but you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody? To get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Now, come along and bring one of those bowls with you.
Oh, Mama, you're no help at all.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
So there are more things we want to explore about this town. And we think it's a great time to tell you that the Cartwright Ancients had just begun to build a new bank in Grover's Corner. Had to go to Vermont for marble, sorry to say that. But they asked a friend of us what to put in Cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000 years from now.
So, we're putting a copy of the New York Times and a copy of the Webb Sentinel. We're kind of interested in this because some scientific fellows have developed a way to paint the pages in a kind of glue, silicate glue, that'll make them keep for 1,000 or 2,000 years. Putting in a Bible,
A Constitution of the United States.
and believe Shakespeare's works. What do you say, folks? What do you think? Babylon was had 2 million people in it, you know, and all we know about them is the name of the kings and some contracts for the sale of slaves and corn. But every night, all those families sat down to eat supper, and the father came home from work, and the smoke went up in the chimney, just the same as here. And even in Greece and Rome, all we really know about them is what we can learn from the joking poems and comedies they wrote for the theater back then.
So we're going to put a copy of this play in Cornerstone for people 1,000 years from now to know some simple facts about us, more than the Treaty of Versailles and Lingard Flight. You know what I mean.
So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces north of New York in the early 20th century. This is the way we were in our growing up, and in our marrying, and in our living, and in our dying.
A great deal of time go by. It's evening. You can hear the choir practice going on in the congregational church. The kids are doing their homework at home. The day is running down like a tired clock.
Music come into the world to give pleasure. Softer. Softer! Get out of your heads that music's only good when it's loud. Leave loudness to the Methodists. You couldn't beat them, even if you wanted to. Now again, tenors.
Emily.
Hello?
Hello?
My, I can't work at all. The moonlight's just so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Why, yes, George, that's the easiest of all of them.
I don't see it.
I'll give you a hint. The answer's in yards.
In yards? Well, what do you mean?
In square yards.
Square yards?
Don't you see it?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Square yards. Oh, I see it. Thanks, Emily.
My, isn't the moonlight just so terrible? And the choir practice going on? I bet if you hold your breath, you can hear this train all the way in Pontycook. Hear it? Well,
You know.
I'd better be getting back to work. Good night.
Good night, Emily. And, thanks.
Before I forget, how many of you will be able to come down next Tuesday and sing at Fred Hersey's wedding? Show of hands? That'll be fun. That'll be right nice. We're doing the same music we did for Jane Trowbridge's last month. Art thou weary? Art thou languid? It's a question, ladies and gentlemen. And they get to talk.
Oh, George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Pop.
Make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only keep you a minute. George, how old are you?
Why, I'm 16. Almost 17.
What do you plan to do once school's over?
You know, Pop. I want to be a farmer. On Uncle Luke's farm.
Oh, so you'll be willing you to wake up early, milk and feed the stock, and hoe and hay all day long?
Why, sure. Pop, what do you mean?
Well, I was working in my office this morning. I heard a very unusual sound. Do you know what it was? It was your mother, chopping wood. There you see her getting up early, making your meals, preparing your clothes, keeping them clean and ironing them. She still has to go out in the backyard and chop wood. I guess she just got tired of asking you and decided it was easier to do it herself. You eat her meals. And you act as if she's some hired lady we keep around who we don't like very much. George, here's a handkerchief, son. I know I just had to call this your attention. I've decided that I'm going to raise your spending money to 25 cents a week. Now, because you're going to chop wood for your mother, because that's a gift you give her, but because you're getting older, now I think there'll be a lot of things you must spend it on.
Thanks, Pop.
Let's make tomorrow your payday. Rebecca will often think she must have some as well. I wonder what could have happened to your mother at this late hour.
It's only 8:30.
I don't know why she's in that old choir. She hasn't any more voice than old throat. Traipsing around the streets at this hour of the night. Ought to be tired. You were tired. Don't you think?
Yes, Pop.
Good night, My, it's late.
Yes, I'll tell Mr. Webb. We want to put it in the paper.
Good night, Irma.
Myrtle Webb, look at that moon. Potato weather for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say a thing in front of the others, but since we're alone, my, it's the worst scandal that ever has been in this town. What? Simon Simpson. Luella. Oh, you know, to have the organist of the church drink and drunk year after year. You know he was drunk tonight.
Now, Luella, we all know about Mr. Simpson, and we all know about the troubles that he's been through. And so does Dr. Ferguson. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him up on there in his job, then the best thing the rest of us can do is just to not notice it.
Not to notice it, but stay quarters.
No, it isn't, Luella. I've been in the car twice as long as you have, and it's been getting better. Now, I hate to go to bed on a night like this, but the children will be up till all hours. I better move. Good night.
You can get home safe, can't you, Luella? It's as bright as day. I can see Mr. Stone scowling out the window now. You'd think we'd been to a dance the way the men folk carry on.
Well, we had a real nice time.
You're late enough.
Why, Frank, it didn't think you were later than usual.
And you stop at the corner to gossip with the hens.
Now, Frank, don't be grouchy. Come and smell the heliotrope by the moonlight.
Isn't that wonderful? What did you do all the time I was away?
I read as usual. What were the hens gossiping about tonight?
Oh, Frank, there is something to gossip about.
Simon Simpson far gone, was he?
As far as I've ever seen him. How'd that will end, Frank?
I guess I ought to know more about Simon Simpson's affairs than anyone else in this town. Some people ain't made for small town living. I don't know how that'll end. The best thing to do is just leave it be.
No, Frank, I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
Well, I think it's my duty to see that you get a real rest and change, and if I get that legacy, well, I'm going to insist on it.
Oh, Julia, there's no sense in living without you.
Oh, Frank, you're just being unreasonable.
Come on, get him before you catch a cold. And I spoke to George. You ought to have your wood chopped tomorrow. Come, let's go upstairs.
Oh, Frank, it seems like there's always something to do about here. You know, Frank, Miss Fairchild always keeps her front door locked at night. All those people of that part of town do.
They're getting citified. That's the trouble with them. They've got nothing fit to burgle and everyone knows it.
Rebecca! There's not enough room for you at this window. Go move, you're always spoiling everything.
Well, I mean, just a minute.
Go find your own window.
Well, I did, but there's no moonlight there. George, do you know what I think? Do you? I think the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and will soon be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were really going to explode, the people who set up all night with telescopes would see about it first. And they'd tell about it. It'd be in all the papers.
George, is the moon shining on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, probably is.
9:30. Most of the lights are out. No, there's Constable Warren trying a few doors on Main Street.
And here's Mr. Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Evening, Bill.
Evening, Mr. Webb.
Quite a moon.
Yeah,
All quiet tonight?
Simon Simpson's rolling around it though. Just saw his wife moving out to hunt for him, so I looked the other way. There he is now.
Good evening, son. The town seems to have settled down for the night pretty well. Good evening. I guess we better do the same. Can I walk along the way with you? Good night.
I don't know how's that going to end, Mr. Webb.
He's seen a peck of trouble one thing after another. Oh, Bill, if you catch my boy smoking cigarettes, give him a word, will you? He thinks a lot of you, Bill.
I don't think he smokes no cigarettes, Mr. Webb. This was no more than 2 or 3 years.
I hope not. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Who's up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, Papa, it's me.
Emily, why aren't you in bed?
I can't sleep. He's in the moonlight, just so wonderful. And the smell just gives you the trouble. Can you smell it?
Yes. Haven't any troubles on your mind, have you?
Troubles, Papa? No.
Well, enjoy yourself. Well, and don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
I never told you about that letter Jane Crowfoot got when she was sick. Her minister wrote her letter, and on the envelope the address was like this. It said Jane Crowfoot, the Crowfoot Farm, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, the United States of America.
What's so funny about that?
Well, listen, it keeps going. The United States of America, continent of North America, the Earth, the solar system, the mind of God. That's what it said on the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
What do you know?
That's the end of the first act.
There's a 10 minutes intermission.